from today, there's a list of recommendations, hundreds of pages just of what the Quebec government needs to do for Quebec children and protecting them. What do you think of it all?
I think that there were a lot of valid points that were made today. I believe that there is an importance that needs to be placed on prevention. Absolutely. There was a question that was asked about how are we going to make sure that these are actually implemented? And I think that that's a question that was not answered. There's a lot of recommendations, but how are the recommendations going to actually be adopted and applied by the government? That's the key question, in my opinion. In terms of the recommendations, our focus at Care Jeunesse really is on youth transitioning out of care. And there were recommendations for extending support until the age of 25, which I think would be a huge win for this province because we are way behind other provinces that offer this kind of support already. I did note that they recommended that youth be allowed to remain in their foster care placements until the age of 21. And I think that we just need to emphasize that youth should be allowed to remain in all of their placements. So that includes rehabilitation centers, group homes, intermediate resources, because youth that are in group placements and not specifically in foster homes are often even higher at risk. And those youth need to be able to remain in their placements as well.
What exactly, are the current problems with this system? Because in the preamble of what I read earlier, it said these issues dated back, years, decades. And from what I know from you a little bit is that you went through the system as well, right? So how are you somebody you testified at this commission? You are somebody who's been through it. So tell me about that.
I think that not much has changed in the last couple of decades. And I think that we need to evolve with society. And I think that we need to learn from our mistakes and make changes. And we tend to just stay in the same place. There's very little that has changed in terms of support for young people that are aging out of care. And they did develop the PQJ program, which offers support to psychosocial support, not financial support, which is also an important component of the support that's going to be needed for youth that are transitioning out of care. That program is very limited. There was a recommendation initially from the commission that that service be offered to all youth. That was over a year ago, and we haven't seen many changes with that. So again, that's why I say that all of these recommendations are great, but we really need to see them actually implemented.
The Quebec government seems like they want to respond to these as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Like they did implement a commissioner now for youth protection, so somebody who's been appointed to take care of this. Does that give you hope that this could actually go in a concrete manner?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I believe that there will be changes that are implemented. I'm not sure that the government has a clear understanding of the difficulties. I think that there needs to be regular reviews. They're talking about the voice of the families and the youth being incorporated, but I think that there needs to be standard regular reviews where the service users have an opportunity to express where the difficulties lie, and as well as the interveners. And then there needs to be adaptations made based on that because it's not a one size fits all solution. I think the national commissioner is a step in the right direction in terms of standardizing practices, but at the same time we have to look at the unique needs of different communities and and make plans based on what their needs are and what they're saying their needs are, not what we feel that their needs are.
Just lastly, what do you think of, there's different specific recommendations. One was, having a charter for the rights of children. Is that something, you see necessary on your radar?
I believe that having that charter would be useful, but again, it's how is it overseen and implemented? So there was the recommendation of a commission, and creating a commissioner for the rights of children. I think that that's an important person to put in place because having a charter without having a commissioner who oversees it is not going to really get us any further than we are now. So I think that it's really all about the implementation, and that's going to be the key.
Anything else, Jennifer, you want to add that I should know, that you want our viewers to know about, what you do and how this might all impact you?
I heard from the commission that they feel that there needs to be support for community organizations. And I think that that also is absolutely important. Care Jeunesse fills a unique need in supporting youth that have aged out of care. And it's people that have experienced it themselves. So people from the inside and who are listening to the voices of the people who have those experiences to provide the services that they're saying that they need. And I think that it's going to be important that the government supports these kind of community organizations like Care Jeunesse and like the other community organizations that service youth and families. Um, because regardless of the supports that are provided by the government, there still needs to be a sense of community for these young people when they age out of care, because we can give them money for housing, we can help them with their education, but they still need uh, community and a sense of belonging, and they can find that in community organizations. So I absolutely think that that's an important piece. The other thing that I think is important is there was a lot of talk about the workload of the interveners, and um, the workload is not going to change. Adding more money to hire people is not a solution. There has to be support to maintain people because there's such a high turnover. And we're talking about youth that have multiple social workers, so they're not provided quality service. And until we actually have incentives for people to do this kind of work and adequate training and support, we're never going to see anything change. So I think that that's one of the key things that need to be implemented and as soon as possible.